Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley here for Concord and Ninth. Thanks for joining me today. Today I have the pleasure of introducing you to the brand new July 2023 release from Concord and Ninth, and I know you're gonna love this one. Let's have an up-close and personal look at the brand new Spectacular Shade Stamps and Dies from Concord and Ninth. This bundle is fabulous for creating all sorts of cards. The Spectacular Shades stamp set has all the sentiments you need, along with a couple little accent pieces to create some fun spectacle themed cards, including sentiments like "You brighten my life," "Have a spectacular day," "You are every shade of awesome," "I only have eyes for you," and I love those tiny little spectacle stamps as well. And the stamp set coordinates perfectly with the Spectacular Shades die set. This includes two different pairs of eyeglasses, which could be sunglasses or reading glasses or whatever type of glasses you choose. And I love that they've included a heart-shaped glasses frame as well as kind of this more rounded shape that might be better for masculine themed cards. And this is a look at all of the die cuts that are created using the dies in the set. So you can see not only do you have the frames for each pair of glasses at the top, but you also have the hardware, the solid backer pieces here, and then you have a few lens options for both pairs of glasses, including some wider stripes, some skinny stripes, and some inlaid die cut sentiments. Now let's look at how to put a pair of these together. I've started by die cutting the frames as well as the solid backer piece, and I'm going to adhere the frames directly on top of that solid backer piece. Now you can use this with or without the backer piece. Keep in mind, you can stack up multiple layers of the outer frame to create some dimension on these glasses and create shaker cards. Or you can die cut that solid piece from various colors of cardstock, do some ink blending. The sky is really the limit, but I wanted to show you that once you have your frame stacked on top of your solid piece, you can then inlay the various lens options to create different styles of glasses, and I think this is so much fun. My favorite thing to do is stack these up to make a shaker. I also love to put an acetate layer between the frame and the backer piece to create that real glass look. Now to assemble the round frame glasses, you're going to do the exact same thing. So you're going to start with your frames and layer those on top of the solid backer. And then you can inlay your various lens options. Keep in mind that this die set that I showed you does not have both the left and the right lenses included, but you will receive both the left and right lenses for these round frame glasses. Now I just showed you the hardware that's available as a little die as well. So I've die cut those out of some gold cardstock, and you can use those to embellish your glasses. So there's so many options, so many things that you can do. I love to slide a little piece of vellum between the layers as well, which creates a fun look. And let's have a look at a few cards that I created using these Spectacular Shades stamps and dies together. Now for this first card, I actually skipped the backer piece and I used a custom striped piece of cardstock that I created from some various Concord and Ninth cardstock colors. I put a piece of acetate in there and I embellished with a couple enamel dots. Now this one might be my favorite. This features the heart-shaped glasses frames, and I have made shakers out of all of them. So I cut several layers of the frame to build up the dimension to allow me to put some shaker bits inside of these sunglasses, and I think it's so much fun. This third card, I have used a layer of vellum in between the layers of the glasses, and I've die cut the frame twice and kind of trimmed it in half to create a dual tone pair of glasses, and I embellished with the little hardware there at the corner. And finally, another rainbow striped card featuring the heart glasses die cut from some matte gold cardstock from Concord and Ninth. Now you can see here that these stamps and dies work so well together. They're so fun to create with. And whether you're telling someone that you only have eyes for them or that they are just super cool, I think you're gonna love creating with this Spectacular Shades bundle. Allow me to introduce you to the brand new Pick Me Up Turnabout stamp set. Concord and Ninth is known for their Turnabout stamps. These are a great way to create your own customized pattern paper, and this brand new Pick Me Up Turnabout is one that you'll reach for over and over again. So here's a look at the stamp set. Keep in mind, it does come with the alignment guide, as do all of the Turnabout stamps from Concord and Ninth. It features some fabulous sentiments, the Turnabout, as well as some little detail images that you can use to stamp around your sentiments or to add a few little splatters here and there. Now, as with all Turnabout stamps from Concord and Ninth, you can stamp this 1, 2, 3, or 4 times to create your own pattern paper. And the back of the packaging is a great place for inspiration for color combinations. It also includes a QR code that will direct you to their website where you can watch a full-length video tutorial on using these Turnabout stamps. So let's have a look at this stamped 1, 2, 3, and 4 times using 4 different colors. I love that by changing up the colors, you can create a totally different feel. And keep in mind, you can always stamp these in a single tone of ink, as well as on colored cardstock to create various looks. So I have my Pick Me Up Turnabout stamp aligned in my Misty stamping tool, and I'm going to take a piece of white Concord and Ninth cardstock and place it on my all-in-one Turnabout jig inside my Misty stamping tool. I have the number 1 on my all-in-one Turnabout jig in the upper right-hand corner, and I'm inking up my stamp using some grapefruit ink from Concord and Ninth, and then I'm just going to close the lid of my Misty and stamp that onto my cardstock. Now I'm going to take my Turnabout jig and I'm going to rotate it so that the number 2 is in the upper right-hand corner. I'll give my stamp a little clean, and then I'm going to ink up the stamp in some honeycomb ink. Once I have that inked up, I'm going to close the lid of my Misty again, press that onto my cardstock, and then I can open my Misty, rotate my all-in-one Turnabout jig to where the 3 is in the upper right-hand corner, clean my stamp. This time I will ink up in lemongrass ink and stamp again. Now I am stamping on some 5.5 by 5.5 inch Concord and Ninth white cardstock today. But keep in mind, you can also stamp this onto smaller A2 size pieces of cardstock. I just like to stamp the full 5.5 inch square piece because that means once I trim this down for a card front, then I can use the scraps as borders on other cards, and I have that extra piece left over that I can use in various ways. Now I've rotated my all-in-one Turnabout jig, I have cleaned my stamp, and now I've inked up in the Juniper ink from Concord and Ninth. I'm pressing that onto my cardstock, and this is my finish stamped pattern. I love how these Turnabout stamps can be customized with the number of inks that you use or the number of times that you stamp it. You could also use embossing powder to create various looks as well. Now, when I'm removing the cardstock from the all-in-one Turnabout jig, I like to roll the Turnabout jig away from the cardstock to keep me from getting any bends or warping in my cardstock. And let's have a look at a couple of cards I created using this Pick Me Up Turnabout stamp. I've created a background here using those same 4 colors that I showed you earlier. Just trim that down and added a white heat embossed sentiment onto some colored cardstock. Now for this background, I did all of my stamping in Nectar ink onto white cardstock. Then I added a piece of vellum over the lower half of this, kind of at an angle there to kind of mute that pattern back. I finished it off with a die cut sentiment and a heat embossed sentiment from the stamp set. This new Pick Me Up Turnabout stamp set from Concord and Ninth is one you'll reach for over and over for every occasion and every season, and I can't wait to see what you do with yours. Come along with me as I give you an up-close look at the brand new Pretty Sweet stamps and coordinating dies from Concord and Ninth. This stamp set was designed with some bold graphic shapes that you can really use to create a variety of images and patterns. Now, right off the bat, you might be thinking snow cone and ice cream cone. You are absolutely right, but keep in mind that these bold graphic shapes can be used in so many ways. I think it would be fun to use these as banners or use that large circle shape as some big balloons on your card. I think the sky is the limit with a set like this. And of course, Concord and Ninth has included some smaller greetings as well as some larger scripty greetings for this imagery. Now, the coordinating die set die cuts all of the images that you just saw, as well as a couple of the sentiments that are included in the Pretty Sweet stamp set. I love these little rectangles because they're designed to cut these itty bitty words here to create some very fun little label shapes with those greetings. But let's have a look at all of the die cuts in action. Now, keep in mind, I've die cut these from some colored cardstock, but you can also stamp and die cut the images as well. So you can use these on their own or mix them together. Now for this flower shape, I went ahead and stamped and die cut that image, and you can see I have a beautifully die cut image there. You can use these circles, these smaller circles that are included in the die set to create flower centers or a little cherry for on top of your large ice cream cone. There's a couple of hearts, and Concord and Ninth does hearts so well, a little leaf, and then of course you have these large triangle shapes along with the detail parts. You can use the details to create a waffle cone, or you can create a striped banner or a striped floral wrap, as I've done here with a little tone on tone. And I think it would be fun to use this as a Christmas tree around the holidays as well. Now, as I mentioned before, the die set includes those 3 small rectangles as well as dies for the large scripty sentiments. So you can stamp those out and pop them up to add dimension on your card. Now here's a look at the first card that I've created using these Pretty Sweet stamps and coordinating dies. I've created a huge ice cream cone with various colors of ice cream there on top. I think this is so much fun. You could definitely make this a 1-layer card, but I've added a little dimension to the sentiment, and I've die cut the little detail piece of the waffle cone and placed that right over the stamped image to add a little depth to that. Now, my second card features a bunch of the blooms that are included in this stamp set. I have stamped them and die cut them using the coordinating die and popped them up onto this white card panel. I think it is so beautiful, and I've added a lot of dimension to that sentiment there in the center. I hope that your mind is just running wild with inspiration with this Pretty Sweet stamp and coordinating die set from Concord and Ninth. I know there's so many fun ways to use it, and I know you guys are just gonna blow my mind with what you come up with. I can't wait to see it, so be sure to share it, and I think that would be pretty sweet. I think you're going to absolutely love this new Cottage Garden stamps, dies, and stencil bundle from Concord and Ninth. So let's get in and have a closer look at these stamps, dies, and stencil set that will make it easy to create cards that you will absolutely adore. Now, we all know that every good card has to have a great sentiment, and this Cottage Garden stamp set does not disappoint, with a couple of sentiments that you can use over and over again in this beautiful script, as well as some supporting sentiments in a nice sans font. And then of course you have the coordinating dies, which cut out those big scripty greetings, as well as creates a lovely floral image. And finally, the Cottage Garden layering stencil set. This is a 3-piece stencil set that creates a gorgeous floral pattern. And all of these stencils are etched with the A2 size outline up in the corner and the lower corner there. So if you want to align it on an A2 size card panel, it makes it easy. Now here is a look at these sentiments stamped and die cut out. Look at how beautiful these are. Keep in mind you could also do some embossing to add a little bit of dimension and glossiness. And this is a look at the floral that you can create with those 3 simple pieces. And of course, I love a good banner sentiment, and this stamp set includes Never Ever Forget, You're the Best Ever, and Love That I Know You, and all of these die cut beautifully with that included banner sentiment in the Cottage Garden die set. Using the Cottage Garden stencil set is really easy, and if you want to do it right on an A2 size card panel, you're just going to line up that panel with the etched details in the corner, and you'll do that with every single layer. So you can see that etched detail, and I'll just line up that A2 size panel there. But I like to do something a little different with my stenciling, and I thought I would show it to you here. I love to use my Misty stamping tool for layering stencils. I like to use a piece of cardstock that's a little bit bigger than the stenciled area that I'm creating. I can always use the scraps for another project. The key is to make sure that your cardstock and your stencil are always nestled into the same corner. So I'm starting with the first layer of this stencil, which has the most open area on these floral images. And I have tucked the corner of my stencil and the corner of my cardstock into the lower right-hand corner of my Misty. And every time I switch out my stencil, I'm just going to make sure that I place everything back into that lower right-hand corner, and it's all going to line up perfectly. Now I'm using my Concord and Ninth blending brush along with the Concord and Ninth Nectar ink to ink blend this first layer. It's a beautiful light layer of ink, and once I'm done with that, I'm going to remove the first stencil and I'm going to move on to the second stencil, and I'm going to tuck it into that lower right hand corner of my Misty stamping tool, just using that to help me align everything. And for this second layer of my florals, I'm going to go in with a slightly darker shade using the Concord and Ninth grapefruit ink, and you can see I'm just blending over the top of this. Now, the beautiful thing about stencils and ink blending is you can create custom color gradients with various colors of ink. You can go light in some areas and dark in others and really create some depth and dimension. You can see I'm doing quick ink blending here and I have beautiful results. Now for my third and final stencil, I'm actually going to use two colors of ink on this stencil, and it's very easy to do. I'm going to use lemongrass for all of the greenery on my stencil. So once again, I'm just using my Concord and Ninth ink blending brushes to blend the ink over the greenery areas of the floral. And once I'm done with that, I'm going to wipe away the extra ink that's sitting on top of my stencil, and I'm going to ink blend the centers of the florals in a different color. Now, because these Concord and Ninth blending brushes are small, it allows me to control where I'm placing the various colors of ink, and I don't really have to worry about masking any areas of these stencils off, but you can if you want to. And you can see I've gone lighter in some places and darker in others so that I can create a lot of depth and dimension in these images. Now I'm using the Concord and Ninth Sorbet ink to ink blend the center of these florals, and I'm going to remove that final stencil and look at the beautiful results that I have. A gorgeous floral pattern. That nectar is not showing up super well on camera, but it's there and it is so dreamy. Now I can just trim this down and use it on a card. Now to clean my stencils, I like to keep some rubbing alcohol in a spray bottle and just spray my stencils when I'm done ink blending, wipe them down with a microfiber cloth, and they're clean, dry, and ready to go for the next time I create. So I created a couple of cards using these stamp stencils and dies together. This first one actually features only the stamps and the dies together. I've used various shades of green and created some beautiful florals. I have that beautiful stamped and die cut thanks. And then of course I heat embossed You're the Best Ever and die cut that. I used some nectar cardstock. I love this card, and I love that little textural element stamped in the background that's included in the stamp set as well. So many uses for that. Now for this card, I used the stencils, the dies, and the stamps together. I stenciled that entire background using those same colors I just showed you, so nectar, grapefruit, and sorbet inks onto some white cardstock. I used a little avocado and lemongrass ink, and then I used that floral die to die cut this piece out of my stenciling. So then I've popped that up by adding some dimension behind it. I've added a vellum layer, a stamped and die cut I Adore You sentiment, a few little enamel dots to finish that off. I think you'll find that this Cottage Garden bundle really does make it easy and fun to create beautiful cards that you can use for a variety of occasions. I can't wait to see the color combos you all come up with using this Cottage Garden stencil set. It's so gorgeous, and I hope you enjoyed this up-close look. I can't lie, I love a good die cut sentiment set, and this new Quintessential Scripty Sayings die set from Concord and Ninth is the perfect addition because you can mix it and match it with stamped sentiments or die cut sentiments that you may already have in your stash. These dies are in a fun, whimsical, scripty font. There are 5 dies included that include the words hello, you, for, there, and friend. You can see I have them stretched across a piece of cardstock that is 5.5 inches in width, and they fill the entire thing. But these are also great because those little tails can be trimmed a little shorter to make them fit on a 4.25 inch wide card as well. So they're very versatile, and you can mix and match the greetings to create custom sentiments for your cards. I had a great time creating with this die set, and this first card, you can see I have die cut the words hello and there and combined them together. I've stacked up layers of plain white die cuts behind that colored cardstock to really build the dimension, and you can see how nicely these fit on a portrait style card as well as a landscape style card. This is a really fun way to play with colors on your card by adding them in your die cut greeting. Now for this card, I have stenciled a background using the Cottage Garden stencil set from Concord and 9th, and I've added the words for and you and kind of overlap them on the front of the card. I think you're going to have a great time mixing and matching the sentiments in this Quintessential Scripty Sayings die set with dies that you already own, with stamped sentiments, and with the other die cuts in this die set. Let me know below which sentiment you would make by mixing and matching these words. I can't wait to hear what you all come up with for your custom greetings. Allow me to introduce you to the brand new Plain Amazing stamps and coordinating dies from Concord and 9th. You know Concord and 9th doesn't just leave it at basic. They always have innovation in mind, and this stamp and die set is no exception, because this is going to allow you to create fun travel-themed cards, adventure-themed cards, but with an interactive flair. The Plain Amazing stamp set has some great adventure and basic sentiments included, as well as some little window vignettes you can stamp inside of your plain windows. But the die set is really what takes it to the next level, because this includes an interactive portion. This allows you to die cut some airplane windows on your card, and you can either use the larger or the smaller windows to create a fun travel themed card, or just an I miss you card. There are 4 larger kind of oval shapes in this die set that allow you to kind of layer up and create the dimension that an airplane window has on the inside. If you've ever been in an airplane, you know there's a lot of like recessed layers, and Concord and 9th has included all the dies that you need in order to create that kind of recessed flair. Now, also included in this die set is this long kind of bank of windows die. You can use this on a portrait or a landscape style A2 size card. So here's an example of it on a landscape card, and here is an example of it die cut onto a portrait style A2 size card. And I want to show you this die close up because it's very easy to use. If you want to use it on a landscape style card for an A2 size, you're just going to line up the edges of the die with the edges of the cardstock, and you'll have 4 perfectly spaced windows. If you want to use it on an A2 portrait size card, Concord and 9th has included an etched line on the back side of the die to make it really easy to line up. So when you're cutting this die onto a portrait style card, you'll line up the edge of the die and that etched line with the edges of your portrait or 4.25 wide A2 card, and that will make 3 perfectly spaced windows onto your portrait card. So those are just the windows in the die, but look at all of the detail pieces that you get included in the die set as well. So you have a little raised piece that you can place around there to create that receding dimension that plain windows have. You also have shades for both the large window and the smaller window, and then you have several landscape and detail or accent pieces, some suns, some moons, some mountains, an ocean. You also have a little tiny airplane and some clouds. And then you have these 2 pieces, and they look really funny at first glance, but these are what create actual working window shades on those smaller windows. So you're going to have this strip piece, and on this you'll notice that there are 2 tabs that are labeled with the word glue. That's where you're going to put your adhesive, as well as some dash lines, and those are going to guide you where to stamp the window vignettes included in the stamp set. Now, the other piece of this interactive portion is the actual shade that will go up and down. Once again, you're going to notice that there's score lines already created for you where you need to fold. There's a tab that marks where you need to place your adhesive, and there's a couple little like notches on the front of the window shade. Those just help you align the little handle that's also included in the die set. So I want to show you how this comes together because it's very simple. I'm using some double-sided tape and I'm just placing it onto the tabs that are already marked with the word glue for me. And I'm making sure that my adhesive does not extend beyond the dashed lines that are created with the die. Now I'm going to use a ruler to just help me get my score lines started. I'm just using the straight edge of the ruler, pushing it up against the score line and folding against that ruler to start my folds. Then I'm going to take these tabs and fold them back. So it's going to create kind of a U shape when it's all kind of folded around, or it's going to create a loop. You can see that here. My tabs are folded towards the back of the die cut, and you can see my little adhesive strip is there with the double-sided tape already on it. Now I'm just going to remove the backer from that double-sided tape and fold the one tab on top of that adhesive area to create kind of like this loop. Now this loop is just going to slide right over this tab piece where the window area or window vignette will be stamped. And you can see that I already have a sliding window shade. Now, through the magic of television, I have one that's been stamped with some ombre stamping using one of those window vignette stamps from the Plain Amazing stamp set. And I have my die cut panel here with those smaller windows. I'm going to remove the backer from the double-sided tape that's on my glue tabs here. And I'm going to, on the back side of this window panel, align this strip about 3/8 of an inch below the window opening. Now I like to place it there and just kind of tap down the lower part of that window and kind of flip it over to make sure I'm in the right area. And when I know that I'm in the right area, I will adhere the upper part of that tab piece on the back side of my card front. And now I have a sliding window shade that actually works. I think this is so much fun. And I'm trying to figure out how I could put some acetate between those layers as well. Now this brand new Enamel Skies enamel dot set also coordinates beautifully with this Plain Amazing bundle. It includes some suns and some moons, some stars, and some clouds. All of them are a fun way to embellish these card projects. So let's have a look at a couple cards that I created. This first one is a portrait style card featuring those sliding window shades. I love this so much. I used some ombre stamping on the window vignettes, and you can see my window shades slide up and down. I stamped a simple greeting on the front and added a strip of gold cardstock. I kept this really simple, but I think this interactive portion on this card makes it so fun and it's so unexpected. And it may be hard to see, but I've also stamped that little plane with the heart trail behind it in that window vignette scene. Now this is using the larger window dies from this Plain Amazing die set. It is a fixed shade on this, so it doesn't move up and down. I've included some acetate in this to make it a little more realistic, and I've used the various scene elements to create a tropical scene in my airplane window. I'm not gonna lie, I just got back from Hawaii and these cards make me want to go back. I love a good interactive card, and these Plain Amazing stamps and coordinating dies do not disappoint. Be sure to check out the Enamel Skies enamel dots, as well as the cloudy double card front die, which coordinates beautifully with this bundle as well. This stamp and die set is going to help you celebrate that inner wanderlust inside of you, and I can't wait to see what you create. I have the great pleasure of introducing you to the brand new cloudy double card front background die from Concord and Ninth. I love this die because it's like a 2-for-1. You can create both portrait and landscape style backgrounds for your cards with just one die. So you can see here, it's kind of a funky shape, but there is a reason for that. If you've ever used the double stripe card front die from Concord and Ninth, this works in the same way in that you can use a single die to create both landscape and portrait style A2 size cards, so up to 4¼ by 5½ inches with just one die. And I love that this cloudy double front card die is great for use with the brand new plain amazing stamps and dies as well. So let's see how this works. To create a portrait style card, I have a piece of cardstock cut to 4¼ by 5½ inches, and I'm going to line it up with the tallest portion of this die. So you can see when I flip it over, that entire A2 piece of cardstock is covered by the die. This allows me to run it through my die cut machine and create a portrait background that covers an entire A2 size card front. Now, to create a landscape version of this cloudy background, I'm going to take my 4¼ by 5½ inch cardstock, and I'm going to lay it on this horizontal portion of the die and run that through my die cut machine to create a landscape style A2 size card. So here's some examples of both portrait and landscape style card fronts that I've created with this die. It's so easy to do, and it's a space and money saver in your craft room because you can use it on both orientations of cards. So here's the first card that I created with this cloudy double card front background die. I have a cloud background behind my simple white die cut sentiment and a rainbow stripe border along the bottom. I've also used it to die cut this oval here, which is from the Plain Amazing die set. So you can use this on smaller pieces of cardstock as well. And I've nestled in these glitter clouds that I die cut using the Plain Amazing die set. The largest cloud from that die set fits perfectly within the stitched borders of this background die. I added an adorable pair of rainbow heart-shaped sunglasses, what I would wear every single day if I could, and that is my second card. This simple stitched cloud background is perfect for creating texture on a variety of card projects, and I love that you can use it on a portrait or a landscape card so you get more bang for your buck. Rain or shine, you'll be reaching for this cloudy double card front die over and over again. I'm Carissa Wiley. Thank you so much for joining me for this up close and personal look at the brand new July 2023 release from Concord and Ninth. I hope you were inspired, and I cannot wait to see what you create with these fabulous card making products.